The reason that we're having this discussion is, of course, because Stora Enso and Tetra Pak are collaborating on innovation. To start with you, Hannu, what value does Stora Enso get out of collaborating, not just within the different departments of your company, but with another partner in the supply chain, such as Tetra Pak? What's the value in it for you?
Yeah, I'd say that there are multiple values. If we start from the fact that we are experts, obviously, with fiber and how do we create the board structures. And then definitely Tetra is very much sort of experienced in different coating technologies, recipes, and so on. And when we put our sort of forces together, we are definitely more than, 1 + 1 is more than 2 in this case. And it means that we have much more collaboration together. We trust, we share, we learn together, and there is a much more transparency. So I'd say our organization have grown much closer to each other because we have same strategic objectives, which are obviously good for the people and planet.
Mm. Enki, what's Tetra Pak's perspective on this co-creation aspect of innovation?
I think that's Tetra Pak has clearly understood that's the only way to move forward. And this took some time. I think there has been a not invented here syndrome also at Tetra Pak for many, many years. And this has totally changed over the last years. And if I come to the point that why we are here together is that partnerships is the only way to go. And as Hannu was already alluding, our partnership with Stora Enso is now in place for 58 years. So it's a long, strong partnership in terms of business. And that's a solid foundation to build on. But it also means that sometimes you need to reinvent the relationship. And I think that's what we have been able to do, and that makes us very strong today. The partnership restart really meant we also have to look at the things that haven't worked in the past. Why might we have ended up with continuous improvement only and not with a breakthrough or some really leapfrogging in terms of innovation? And that has been, I think, a very good point to reflect, and is something always recommended for any innovation partnership that needs to be restarted and needs to be brought into a co-creation setup. The other part I would like to call out for co-creation that really helped us is to take a very different approach to intellectual property that maybe in the past it has been taken. Intellectual property is important. If companies are investing into new things, into innovation, there's a value there to intellectual property. And what we're trying to do in our relationship, we try to call out all these intellectual properties that could be potentially touched. They might not be they might not be in the focus of a particular project we're working on, but we are calling them out up front because they might be on the outside. And we would love to make sure the scientists are able to bring everything they know to the table without fearing that the other party might take advantage of this information. And the agreements we have put in place, and this is really for me a new way of working, they make sure that one of the parties is called out as a clear owner in case this is being this area new foreground intellectual property is developed, so something new. The existing intellectual property stays with the partner who brings it into the conversation. So this is also called out very clearly. And then by doing this, we really hope that people are able to bring all crazy ideas to the table. And this is the only way then to find the sweet spot that we are looking for. And apparently also finding it fast. Because as Hannu was pointing out, if you do this on your own, you might be missing on the diversity of ideas that could be brought forward and could actually help us with speed to market. And speed to market is what we need given the environmental situation we are in and the need to really drive a change. So I think we are going some new paths here in how we are approaching this, and really making sure also as commercial business partners to enable our technical partners to do the best they can and not being held back by certain interests of one of the parties.
So Hannu, Stora Enso then works towards the Sustainable Development Goals, as of course do many or most large corporations these days. And one that I think is very relevant for manufacturing industry is Goal 12, which is about sustainable production and consumption. And it's all very much, as you know, about doing more and doing better with less. So what do you see of the role of innovation in working towards that particular goal?
It's a very good question and very close to our hearts. And if I start from the beginning of the value chain where we have the forests, and obviously we are managing the forests very, very responsible way. We have the forest laws in the Nordic countries where we have the vast majority of our wood baskets. So basically whenever you cut the tree, you have to replace it by planting a tree, and we effectively replace about 3 trees on average for every tree we cut. And then the growing forests are the best ones because they are obviously acting as a carbon sink. And over the last 100 years, for example, I think the forest reserves in Sweden have doubled. And it's very important to remember that the way we manage the forest or our stakeholders are managing it, it is based on the fact that there is a continuous growth. Then when you come to the production, our mills, obviously in the old days they had pollutive issues, but the environmental footprint has improved tremendously. So whether it's the emissions to the water, to the air, they are minimum, and every time when we are investing, we are making sure that the emissions are getting more and more limited. Good area is to identify is the way we run our power plants, and the coal-fired power plants are becoming more and more rare, and we are replacing them with bioenergy. So I'd say that that's an forever ongoing area that we look into our production footprint, and we measure that very systematically. And I think our goal is obviously to become a CO2 neutral in all of the mills in a certain time period. We have mills which are already fulfilling this, and we see that this is the way to make yourself much more sustainable. The same applies to supply chain. We have to carefully then monitor that how do you reduce the emissions, etc. So I'd say that's very, very high on our agenda.
Mm. And what about Tetra Pak then, Anke, with when it comes to sustainable production? What sort of, how far have you come in those efforts at Tetra Pak?
I think I can fully support what Hanno is saying in the value proposition that we have at hand here. We actually are aiming towards being able to close the loop as much as possible. So the next challenge on top of what Hanno described is obviously using recycled fibers then also in our packaging, which today we are not able to do because of very high food safety standards, which is the other balance we need to strive. But that's one of the things, obviously, that we are very ambitious about. When it comes to the sustainable production overall, we have done tremendous progress also on SDG 13, climate action. We have set ourselves very early on very ambitious target in terms of greenhouse gas emissions reduction, made tremendous progress, and have just updated again our science-based targets with a commitment to reduce the Scope 3 emissions included by 46%, so for the total value chain, and this by 2030. Of course, we are aiming towards net zero. At the same time, trying to achieve the 1.5 degree target. And in order to get there, we actually do need our partners, including Stora Enso. It's a huge effort to take it further and to really make sure we are living up to the SDG commitments.
So thank you, Hannu and Anke, both very much for joining us. It's been a really interesting discussion, and it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of innovations come out of the packaging industry going forward, thanks in large part to collaborations between your companies. And as a consumer, I'm really looking forward to being able to take a truly sustainable package out of the fridge next time at the supermarket.
Thank you. It's been a wonderful conversation, and I think we are very excited to take it further forward. So looking forward to the extended cooperation with Tetra Pak and all the players in the wonderful packaging value chain.
Thank you.
Thank you, David, for the conversation, and Hannu for the partnership. Looking forward to driving things forward.
We hope you enjoyed this look into the cutting-edge innovation going on in the packaging industry. My name's David Wiles. Thanks very much for watching.